Howdy, y'all, and welcome to the EEARSS Podcast, produced by Terrier TV here at Titusville High School. I am Frank. That is Bill. We wish that was Cindy, but today it's not.
Yes, there is no Cindy today.
It'd be nice if there was Cindy. There was a headless dog a second ago, but
There was.
no Cindy.
For those of you at home, Frank assaulted Tuffy and knocked his head off.
I legitimately tried to
Right
rub
there.
him on his giant
Right there.
eyebrow, his giant unibrow.
So go ahead, try it again.
I tried to rub him on his giant.
It's not. He did it again. Okay.
I tried to rub him on his giant unibrow, and he fell apart.
Somebody must
Yeah,
have broken.
nabbit, man.
Maybe somebody broke him.
Well, he's definitely broken now if he wasn't before.
No, he wasn't before.
Well, sorry, dog.
So
That's what you get when you have a
those
crooked
of
jaw.
you listening at home, that boom that you heard, I'm sorry if it accosted your ears.
When you have a unibrow and a giant crooked jaw, what do you expect?
Yeah, he's not the most attractive Tuffy in the world. But
Look, I can do this to
he's
me
what
and I
we
don't
have.
fall apart.
That's
and
true.
a chance and he doesn't
and
fall
chance, yeah, as well. Yeah, that
and
is
the
true.
little fuzzy terrier.
Yeah,
he
the fuzzy terrier.
He's
None
here. He's enjoying
But
himself.
You're getting violent against the poor dog.
You know me,
That's
Bill.
just terrible.
You know I have murder in my mind all the time, Bill.
Yes,
It's kind of just the way I roll.
You just have menace in your heart. It's awful.
Death and destruction.
Yes,
Just the terriers, apparently.
Evidently,
Yeah,
yeah.
just
That's who it is.
yeah.
It's just the terriers.
That sums up. That's my MO.
That's your jam, baby.
Modus
That's your
operandi.
jam.
It is my jam.
See, I told you.
Well,
Your jam.
I just might as well just admit it now.
Yep, might as well.
How's your week been?
It's been a long week. It's tiring. I'm waiting for the weather to change.
And for shows on Wednesdays.
Yeah, and shows on Wednesdays. But yeah, I'd like to get a cold front through here sometime.
Now, does THS have an away game tonight?
Yes. We are away at O'Galley.
Oh, well, at least it's close.
And it's fairly close. And it's a trend though, because we are their homecoming opponent, and so in the week before we were their homecoming opponent. So one's got to wonder, what's this all about?
Say that one more time now.
The week before we went to Spruce Creek and we were their homecoming opponent.
Oh, we're everybody's homecoming opponent.
Yes, I think so. I think that is the trend. Although we did have today, Fox 35 was here, and they did live shots from our gym for their morning program, us and O'Galley. And so it was a nice little thing. All the kids were there, and they were cheering, and they were on live TV this morning at 9 o'clock, from 9 to 10.
Yeah. Thoughts on the football game?
I don't know. O'Galley's tough. O'Galley's ranked number 1 in the state. I think they just beat Cocoa last week.
What?
Yes.
Has Ugali ever been ranked?
I don't believe so. No.
Wow.
So they are doing very, very well.
Okay. Did not know that. I know Maryland Christian is playing against Calvary Chapel somewhere down there in Melbourne tonight, too.
Okay.
So there's lots of football games going on down there in that end of the county, I reckon.
Let's just hope the weather holds.
Is it supposed to be nice?
Thunderstorms. No, it should be some thunderstorms that, sporadic, as
Yeah.
is Florida. It's going to be sporadic. And so you never know.
We played against Masters Academy last night
Okay.
over there, and it was weird. A crazy storm rolled through with about 2 minutes left in the game, and we got lightning warning for 30 minutes, and then we came back out and finished business. But
Okay.
yeah, it was great. It was one of
Was
the
it
weirdest.
a close game?
Final score was 38-33. So yeah.
Wow. That was.
Yeah, the first time we beat them in 4 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, hopefully we're changing the trend because we got to play them again in 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a crazy situation.
Okay. Well, there's some guy
I know
who came over. He's sitting over there.
Are you ready?
Probably wants to say
I was
something.
fixing to ask you if you're ready.
Probably. Yeah, I am ready.
So,
are you ready?
I am. So today on the podcast, we are joined by Dr. Todd Bates. How are you doing, sir?
I am fantastic.
Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. It's always an adventure when I hang out with you.
Yeah, I'm knocking random dogs' heads off.
Headless dogs.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Thank you for making the trip over. Can you tell us a little bit about you and what you're up to these days?
Sure. Be happy to. Thanks for having me on. It is.
Yes, sir.
I am very serious whenever I engage with you. I feel like I'm in a Dos Equis commercial. The most interesting man in the world.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't know where this is going.
There you go.
Yes.
Hilarious.
Well, we have moved back to Florida after almost 30 years of an extended work vacation. So we've been moving all over the nation and have returned to the Central Florida area. And so we came back to Florida to found a college. which is not something you hear every day. But after almost 30 years in higher education, it was time to do something a little different. And so that's what we came back to do. We had thought about putting it the college in Orlando. That's where my wife and I grew up, but fell in love with the Space Coast. It is just an absolutely phenomenal area. The innovative entrepreneurial spirit here is just incredible. There's an energy here that we just love, and we look forward to what the future holds.
So is your background teaching? Tell me about you and your wife's background and what led you to the idea of creating this college, Christ College.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up as an athlete, and so academics was not a priority, but I was always a thinker. I tell people I feel like I was born a philosopher. I always wanted to know why, and I never seemed to outgrow it. And so as I began to pursue education, I was in college for one reason only, and that was to play football. I loved athletics, but as your body starts wearing thin and the toll that it plays on your body, you start to realize maybe my dreams of playing wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys are not going to come to fruition. And so began to really wrestle with who I was as a human being, and was not real happy with what I found. And so I found a lot of narcissism, superficiality, a lot of being passionate about all sorts of wrong things. And that is when the pilgrimage began, and that took me back to church. And so I began to really wrestle with the reality of who God was, who I was, and what he had done for me in Jesus Christ. And so through a process of about 6 to 8 months of deep wrestling, and there were some dark moments there, I suddenly came to really understand what the cross was all about. And I was transformed from day one. And so that really gave a motive and a purpose for my intellectual inquiries. And so I began to read and read voraciously. Could not get enough of reading, and that just ignited my mind. And so that's when I became an academic. And if you would have asked me a year prior to that, I would have laughed at you. So no, whatever I'm going to do, it's not going to be that. But just falling in love with ideas and the life of the mind and cultivating that for a flourishing life is honestly what I'm doing now, and that's what led us to do this here in Central Florida.
So tell us a little bit about the foundations of this school. I know me and you've chatted about it a little bit. Mm-hmm. It's you guys have an interesting foundation. You're new into the college ranks, so you're kind of starting off on a pretty specific basis behind the college. Kind of work us through that a little bit.
Sure, absolutely. We are what I would call an innovative approach to higher education. So all of us know some of the chaos that's been going on in higher education. There's some doing it really, really well. But for a lot, they view higher education as being overpriced and underdelivered. And so we wanted to do something a little different. And it is so old of an idea, it sounds new. And so we are a classical liberal arts college. And by classical, we are reaching back to what education was 2,000-3,000 years ago. As best we can understand, a retrieval project, bringing the whole idea of transforming the human being, not so much teaching them to do a job as transforming them to be a certain kind of person. And so we want to focus on that transformative idea of the flourishing life. And so when we founded this, we wanted to do so not in a mass production way, because you really cannot have that level of transformation. So we are intentionally focused. We have one major, a BA in Humanities and Entrepreneurship. And we'll come back to that in a moment. But we have 4 students this year. The goal for next year is 8 students. And then after that, we start capping classes. So 15 will be the cap, because what we want is for each student to be known in such a way that as the professor engages with them, you have this relational component, this Socratic dialogue that really deepens and draws out the knowledge that God has worked in. So this is something Socrates and the Theaetetus talks about. So God brings the students to him. He calls himself a midwife. And so he gives birth to the ideas that God has built into them. And so he says, I'm not wise at all. God is wise, and God builds wisdom into these students. It's my job to give birth to that wisdom. And so that's kind of the genesis of a lot of these ideas. So we meet the student where they are. We are fellow learners. We tell our students all the time that, we're a step or two ahead of you. But we're only a step or two ahead of you. We are engaged in the task of learning.
So that has to be a very unique faculty.
It is.
And so how do you go about finding people?
It's a great question. So you would be absolutely amazed at how many people want to teach this way. They are just like the rest of my almost 30 years of higher education. I'm put in a classroom with 40, 50, 70, 100 students trying to teach them philosophy. That is a really hard thing to do. So trying to still work that formative education, but with 70 you can't.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of folks who have been in higher education that are kind of frustrated with that. They want that personal engagement with students. They want to do that Socratic dialogue in class. So with 70 students trying to do a Socratic dialogue, it is sheer chaos. But with 4, 8, 10 students, it's a beautiful thing.
Oh, yeah, I would imagine, yeah.
And so we have not had a problem finding faculty. So we are growing slowly. We are intentionally small, which means there's not we don't need a whole lot of faculty. And
right,
so
right.
Those who are, one of the young men came with me from Texas, and so he came out here to help us found this college. And this is what he has always dreamed of. I mean, he will tell you that since I was led to do the PhD, I've wanted to teach in this kind of setting. And he actually wanted to start a college. And so it's not easy to find those strange animals.
Oh yeah.
I can't think I've ever met anybody before that said I want to start a college.
Mm.
Start a college.
That's a unique idea.
Yeah.
It's a unique idea.
Yeah, it's not something you encounter every day. So when
No.
I talk with people, this is one of the questions: do we need another college? And the idea is,
That's a great
well,
question.
Yeah, it
yeah.
is a great question.
Yeah.
Well, this kind of college, yes.
Yeah.
And so the micro college is sometimes this is what this is called, is starting to crop up all over the nation.
So where you have to have some kind of backing.
Mm.
You can't just do this.
Well, this is a great point. So one of the ways in which we go about education, and one of our values, is being affordable. And so our tuition is $12,000 a year. So you get this deep, transformative education, one-on-one education for $12,000 a year. That's
Mhm.
tuition.
Yeah.
Now, we're able to do that because we're not in the land business.
Right, okay.
We don't have a building that keeps needing maintenance, keeps needing
Sure.
paint, keeps needing all this other stuff. We meet on a church campus. And so the church is there, busy. Trinity Wellsprings is where we meet, and it's one of the busiest campuses I've ever been a part of. But the church uses it primarily on Sundays and some in the evening. So there is a K through 12 school there, and then there's a college there. And so they're going to take care of the property, whether we're there or not.
Right.
And so they give us a very good overhead, and that is a very helpful thing. But we also don't have dorms. So the whole idea of college is a time of development into adulthood. And so we help our students start adulting from day one.
Mm-hmm.
We want them living and learning how to deal with neighbors. We want them learning how to set up a budget. Something happens when you sign your name to a lease. You suddenly have to step up,
Right.
and you have to start thinking differently.
Yes.
And so one of the most unnatural places in all of America is the college dormitory. If you think of the average rhythms of an adult life, and then you take a look at the average dorm life, it's a very different thing. And so what we're trying to do is help grow our students into adults. We're also not in the food business. We don't have a cafeteria. So Publix, you have to meal plan. You have to think about these things. And so what we're trying to do is engage them in the community, get them involved with that, and then help them to grow into adulthood. Almost like being an adult with training wheels.
There you go.
And,
Okay.
And so we are $12,000 a year because we don't get bogged down in all those other things. And so because we focus simply on education, we're able to do so in an affordable way. But we're able to do so in a deeply transformative education. So it's one of those rare scenarios where you don't get what you pay for. You
Okay.
actually get something way more than that.
So now what about accreditation?
Yeah, excellent question. So we are licensed by the state of Florida. So we are not a Bible college. The name of the college is Christ College, and so most people think, well, that's the Bible college. No, we are a 4-year liberal arts college, licensed by the state. We went through the same process as UCF, U of F, Florida State, and so it was an arduous process. But the state has evaluated our curriculum, evaluated our financial position, our structures, and said, yeah, this is a legit 4-year liberal arts college. And so we have licensure. Now, accreditation is another issue. And so it takes about 3 years in operation before you can apply for accreditation. So we have 3 years in operation, and then we will apply. But having been in higher ed for almost 30 years, it's been built into my noggin, been beaten into my head that everything we do is toward accreditation. So I think in those terms, not exclusively, but think in those terms. And so once we start the process, I have no doubt we will be accredited. And the cool thing about accreditation is it's retroactive.
Okay.
And so every student that graduates from Christ College will graduate with an accredited degree.
Because the students that you have now have to have a lot of faith in you and the process, because basically it's a gamble.
Yeah, it can. Well, all of life is a risk.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And so
absolutely.
we focus on entrepreneurship principally because we're trying to help prepare people for life. And so our students who have stepped up this year are entrepreneurial. They are pioneers. And so we tell them, we remind them that you're building something now that 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, you'll be able to look back and say, look, I helped build that. I laid those first bricks.
Oh yeah, they're the founding fathers.
Yes, they are. And so there's not many opportunities in life you get to contribute to something like this.
To be on the ground floor of anything, yeah.
And so they're thrilled. When we finished our first week of class, this was, you talk about touching. The whole year we built toward this, and we launched, and at the end of the first week, we say, congratulations, you have just started the first week of Christ College. And they broke out in applause. They were so excited about that, and that was thrilling to me to be a part of that.
So now your students that you have, are they from all over, or are they local?
Right. So we will have a national reach.
Okay.
These first few are from the area. So we have 3 from the Satellite Beach, Melbourne area, and then 1 from Orlando. And so the one from Orlando drives over. She has a place. She stays here. So lives with a family. It's close to their family. And then the 3 that are in Melbourne, they live at home for the first year. And then after that, they're going to start getting an apartment and having roommates.
Okay. So now, how did you recruit these? Because that's a little bit of a sales job to get them to.
Well, it's a unique education. So there are probably about 3 other places in America that offer this kind of degree. So a BA in Humanities and Entrepreneurship. So we don't do the old traditional kind of major where you just strictly get prepared to do a job. So we want to prepare people for life. We really want to help them have a well-formed soul, help them understand the flourishing life, and to pursue that fully. And so one of the questions I get asked a lot is, how do humanities relate to entrepreneurship?
That's what I was going to ask next. Yes.
Yeah, that is a great question, because initially it doesn't seem like they relate. But if you think of the humanities, and we are a great books curriculum, so we are having our students read through the greatest books that have ever been written. And those great books are great books because they wrestle with something uniquely human. So every great book wrestles with something that is we all think about, and they are putting in a context that we can read and engage in and think about for ourselves. And so as you're reading through the great books, you're beginning to think humanly. You're beginning to see what humans seek. You're beginning to understand their needs, the wrong paths they pursue to satisfy those needs, the right paths, and the consequences that come from that. And so over the years, you begin to understand human nature. And then you apply that specifically to the context of entrepreneurship. So what are the human needs that I see in culture now? And then how do I engage and meet that need in a way that is deeply beneficial for not only me as a business person, but also the customer? So we talk about the term redemptive or transformational entrepreneurship, where it is not a zero-sum game. Either I win or you win. It's one or the other. Now, we're trying to seek the good of the other. And in seeking the good of the other, we ourselves will benefit from that, both financially, but also just in our humanness. So we will become better humans as we serve our fellow man.
That is deep.
Yeah, that's I agree with that so much. Yeah.
Well, we have found that that sells itself to students, so I don't have to push hard. We do have to talk with moms sometimes. They want to know about the longevity. The very things you bring up are very good questions, and they're legitimate. I'm a dad myself. My kids have gone through college, and a lot of what I do at this college is based on what I saw them wrestle with, the good and the bad and the indifferent. And so as a dad myself, I really sympathize with the parents. But then I also let them know that, look, we are a continuation of what you have tried to build into them. So we really do want to help them become functioning, flourishing human beings. And so most parents really do want that. And it's a good, solid education when they get to know all the professors. They really like the idea of their kids hanging out and being mentored. So that's one way of understanding what we do. We are a very mentor-oriented institution.
So you talked a little bit about being drawn back to Orlando because you grew up over here, you and your wife. Can you tell us a bit specifically what made you guys end up on the Space Coast?
Sure. So we were going to go to Orlando. That's where all our family is, where our contacts are. So that was the natural choice. Well, I met a headmaster of a classical Christian school, K through 12 school, Pietas, over in Satellite Beach and in Melbourne. And he said, you got to check out. So I was telling him about the college, and he said, look, I would love to have that here in Melbourne. Well, Melbourne, from what I remember growing up in Orlando, was a sleepy little fishing town. And I thought, man, maybe I love the beach. So my wife was in the background going, yep, beach is where we need to be. And so we agreed to drive over, and I drove over, and I thought, wow, this is not the Melbourne I remember. It's not the Space Coast I remember. And that's where I discovered the innovative, the entrepreneurial energy that is here. And it's been described as Orlando about 20 years ago. And I actually heard a businessman yesterday say this is being talked up as the next Silicon Valley. So many people want to come out here. And so for an institution that wants to develop entrepreneurs, that seemed to just make sense. And it was close to the beach. So our college is less than a mile from the beach. So literally you can walk from class to the beach. And we do strongly encourage them to do it in that order.
There you go. Okay.
What does this make you think about, Bill? Because how does this compare to the public school system of this whole design? It's got to be. Is it totally flipped?
Well, no. Well, when I started off, I mean, we had big discussions about the Socratic method and trying to do, because I started off as a history teacher too, and so being able to have discussions and bring out all of those ideas, that was something that we did, but it's difficult to, and then standardized testing came in and became the end all and be all, and the idea that they understand why something is. No, they just have to know it to be able to put it on a test. You caught me on a good day.
So this is going to be a huge blessing to the teachers then also.
It is, yeah. So one of the things we really enjoy, we enjoy each other, and we engage in deep discussions. We have conversations. We have a common lunch together on most days. And so one or all faculty members will be gathered in there, and students come in, they'll sit down and eat with us. We'll talk about ideas that matter. They also engage, they see your professors engage in conversation where we differ. And so the young man that came out here is also a philosopher. And so most of us are philosophers, whether we are by training or not. And so we engage in ideas and discussions. And philosophers get really passionate about ideas. And so they see us disagree, but they also see us being united in this pursuit of truth. So we don't get distracted by the ultimate goal of what we're both trying to work for. We may see different avenues of getting there, And we may disagree about those, but we agree on where we're wanting to go. And that makes it a lot easier to disagree agreeably.
Mm-hmm.
And our students enjoy seeing that.
Which is an unheard of thing these days, pretty much. And
Yeah.
in the current climate, that's a pretty much unheard of idea.
Yeah, more and more so. I mean, it used
Sadly.
to be, we used to, in the social studies department, the faculty was varied,
Mm-hmm.
and you had people that you knew, and we would talk about it in class. Well, this teacher thinks this way and this teacher thinks this way, and we'll talk about, which do you agree with?
Mm-hmm.
You don't even get into right and wrong. It's more, what do you agree with?
Exactly.
What aligns with your belief? And then you start talking about why, because that's the most important thing is, why do you believe it?
Mm-hmm.
And
Trying to understand people and being able to appreciate where they come from is a beautiful thing.
yes, absolutely.
It is, and we're not the first to ask these questions. So
No.
this is
Oh,
something
no.
we emphasize. So the mission statement at Christ College is we provide an affordable, faithful education in the Christian intellectual tradition. And so we recognize we're situated in a tradition. We're not the first humans to ask these questions or to seek answers for these questions. And there are some pretty darn good answers
Mhm.
throughout history. And so instead of recreating the wheel every time we're encountering a new problem, we return or retrieve the wisdom of our forebears. And so as we learn to think in the tradition, it helps guide our discussion. So if we disagree with each other and somebody's out in left field, it's like, okay, so this history of 2,500 years of really deep thinking about this, they all kind of point in this direction, and you're pointing way out here. So let's be at least judicious in how we approach these ideas. And so it is understanding that we think within the boundaries of human history. And that is a helpful trajectory. It points us in the right direction.
Mhm.
This has been one of the more deep intellectual conversations we've ever had in a podcast.
You can't interview.
I love it. I love it.
You can't interview a philosopher and not get philosophical.
I know. I'm
Come
just
on.
saying it's. I don't think we've ever had a podcast quite like it before.
No, we really haven't. It's interesting.
It's pretty special. Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
special.
Well, this is the daily challenge at Christ College.
Yeah.
And so and we do also, let me go say, it's not just history that orients us. We have a purpose toward which we think. And so Scripture helps guide our thinking and helps us evaluate history. So there's some bad answers in history too. And so how do we know bad answers? Well, you tend to see that pretty clearly in history. But also Scripture helps us understand why that error happens and how we can correct that. And so that is our baseline of truth. So we are people of faith, and we name Christ College because it very clearly states our core beliefs.
So, what's the idea of what are you preparing them for? Are they going to go on to seminary, or do they go to the workforce?
Yeah.
What kind of things do you envision them doing?
All right, great question. So we would love for them to go on and be entrepreneurs. That would be great, but it's not exclusively entrepreneurs. So the entrepreneurial mindset is helpful for life. And so the short answer, didn't want to be snarky, but the short answer, we're preparing them for life.
Sure. Yeah.
Not simply for a job. Now, we do understand the pragmatics of it. You do have to put food on the table. You do have to work. But we want them to understand work as a good thing, not as just a utilitarian aspect of life, that I have to do this.
Something you have to do, yeah.
Yeah, right. And so I have to get a paycheck. Well, that's one way of approaching work, but you can also approach work as being deeply meaningful. When we work and work well, there is something formative about that. There is something deeply human about working. And when we work with all our might, when we work toward good purposes, when we serve others in our work, we become more human ourselves. And so we understand work in terms of vocation. So it is our individual callings to help develop ourselves in our work, but also help develop others through our work. And so it may be an entrepreneur, but it also may be an intrapreneur. So this is another term that gets batted around, is somebody who perhaps doesn't want to run the risk. They want to work within an existing corporation or an existing business, but they want to bring that innovative mindset to that business. And so my wife and I ran a business for many, many years out in California. She was the primary leader of the business, and while I was teaching. But one of the struggles we had is always finding good workers who would approach the tasks as though this were their very own business. And so this owner mindset is what we want to cultivate in our students. We want them to work with excellence in everything they do. And so the entrepreneur, the intrapreneur, and also just for life. So some may go on to do seminary, some may do advanced study. But we also just want to create people who will love work, who will engage life and be successful humans. And that will be good not simply for them, but for everybody else. And so after 20 years of this, Brevard County should be have a different flavor if we're doing our job right.
Those are high goals. I like it. Those are some high goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think I ever heard the term entrepreneur before.
I have never.
That was a new one to me. Yeah, that was a new terminology to me.
A
lot of things are new to me, but that was a new terminology to me. Well, Bill throws out a word every now and then. I go, what just happened, Bill? Was that your $5 word of the day? Because I'm like, entrepreneur might have been the one. That might have been the one for today.
Yep.
I'll find a way to use that at least 5 times in the coming week. Yeah, or something's wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Todd, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to chat with us and talk to us about Christ College and what you guys are working on over there. If people want to learn more about the college and what you guys are doing, you guys have a website?
We do. So you can go to christ-college.com. We have a weekly newsletter if you want to sign up for that. We also have a preview day coming up. So October 24th, you want to come by campus, be introduced to the faculty, participate, or catch a little preview of what it's like to be a student at Christ College. That's also available on the website.
And are you guys in Melbourne or Satellite Beach? Or?
We're in Satellite Beach, so we're beachside.
Crocodile World.
Okay.
That's right.
There you go.
Right down the road.
Crocodile World. All right, I got you. Didn't know you were part of the Christ College was in Jurassic Park, but it definitely is.
Okay.
Thank you so much for taking the time. Sincerely
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
Yep. Bill?
Yes, sir.
Another one part of the podcast book?
Yes. Another one in the book.
The dog's head's back on?
The dog head's back on for now, unless somebody touches it.
Yep. Hey, I'm looking at you guys. The dog's head needs to stay on its body.
Yeah, you guys in there need to quit messing with it. Yeah, I'm thinking y'all broke it.
I don't think we can blame them.
No, we can't.
Yeah,
we can't. No.
They look very.
I have a pretty good idea that some of the culprits might be in my second block class.
Sweet. Put the hammer down, Bill.
Yep.
I like it.
Yep.
All right, let's end this thing.
Let's do it.
All right, y'all. Thank you for tuning in to the EEARSS podcast produced by Terrier TV here at Titusville High School. It seems like every time I say that, I realize how many T's are in that when I say it.
Yeah,
there's a lot of T's. If you guys would like to learn more about EEARSS and what we're doing, you can go over to EEARSS.com.org, alligatorrobb.com. There's 2 B's in Rob because it's my last name, not my first name. And if you would like to learn more about that, go over there, and we will kindly catch you all next week. Bye-bye.
No, I wasn't ready for that.
You weren't ready for
Do
that?
it again.
Okay.
You ready?
So guys, if you would like to learn more about EEARSS, go over to
I like that. See, I didn't hear the ears.
EEARSS, EEARSS.org. Learn more about what we're doing. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will catch you all next week. Bye-bye.